Hi friends, it's Kerrie from Conversations at Kerrie's Korner. On this Saturday in July, this is the final podcast for the week. I'm running a little behind, but I wanted to get it done on this Saturday because this is a big topic and it affects a lot of people, me personally, as well as many other people in my age group. I'm over 60 and this is a big one, and so I wanted to talk about it today where I had time and I knew I wasn't going to be interrupted. So Conversations at Kerrie's Korner, what is that? First of all, let's talk about that for just a second. It is a podcast that I hope will spread and bring attention to these particular subjects that a lot of Americans deal with. Sometimes it's all of us, sometimes it's a segment of us, but it's topics that we need to talk about. I started a podcast at Kerrie's Korner because we have in this country a really big problem, as big as the Grand Canyon. And it is the divide between all of us to communicate with each other. We're not communicating. When we do communicate, it's with anger or violence or disrespect or sometimes hostility, sometimes violence. And we got to figure out how not to do that. We used to be able to talk about all of the things in our society rationally, calmly. We listen to each other. But now we have left versus right versus wrong, and there's no compromise. Everybody thinks they're right. And so during the last 4 years and the previous election cycle, it really came home to me just how cavernous this divide is, and how if we can't figure it out, it could at some point destroy our country, especially if we have a crisis. And the crisis is multiplied by our political alignments. And so I wanted to do something about it. And I came up with this idea of trying to present subjects to my circle of influence, and then those people in that have their own circle of influence, and hopefully they'll take this message and go to their people, and so on and so on. And so it gets the message out, and hopefully it will encourage people to talk to their own circle of influence about this particular subject. And that's how we can make change, when we can come together with one direction and set aside our differences, work for the best option for everybody, and do it rationally, intelligently, calmly, listen to each other. And you never know, you may walk away with a different opinion. When I was a little girl, did a lot of traveling around this amazing country with my family, and we stopped at these amazing diners. You'd go into these diners and they'd be absolutely beautiful. They'd be red or green, and there'd be chrome, and sometimes they were even on skates, roller skates. And being new to the country, we were just fascinated by these American diners that were everywhere. You'd go in, sit down, and have a cup of coffee or a slice of pie or a hamburger and a Coke. And I can remember watching mostly my mom, but Dad was available too. My dad did a lot of traveling ahead of us. He would go, and then we would meet him. My dad is a retired pro golfer, so his schedule was different to our schedule, and we did a lot of traveling by car. And so I can remember watching my mom. We'd go into these diners to have dinner or lunch or whatever we were doing, and she'd sit down, and my mother had this uncanny ability to have a conversation with anybody, and she'd walk away like they were friends for 45 years. She just had this amazing ability to talk to people, and a lot of times she'd come away with a different perspective, or the person she was talking to, you could tell that they were thinking differently about something. And as minors, you watch all these things. You watch people and adults interact with each other, and even though they didn't necessarily agree, they listened to each other, right? that's what we have lost in this country, the ability to listen and to respect each other's opinions. See, we don't have to agree. We shouldn't agree. If we all agreed, imagine how boring it would be, all right? I mean, think about that for just a second. But we've got to learn to talk and listen and respect the other person's opinion. And then we have to demand respect for our own opinion. We don't have to agree. I have lifelong friends that we don't see eye to eye on everything, politically, family related, relationships related. We're all different. We all have our own perspectives. It's the lack of communication that is destroying our country, and the hatred and violence associated with it. So hopefully there's a lot of us out here that are trying to bridge this gap, trying to get subjects out to everybody to talk about, think about, because if we can come to the table and talk about it, that's where we can change things. So today I want to talk about something that affects me, it affects my husband, it affects the majority of people that we know in our circle of influence. I am 63, my husband will be 66 this year, and one of the biggest challenges that we face now is medical related problems and costs. So we have worked really hard, my husband and I, we're both still working. We both have private health care. And if we didn't have that, we'd probably be bankrupt. I had a very nasty injury in 2006, which I still have ongoing problems, and a lifelong incurable medical condition that has probably, in those years since 2006, racked up $3 or $4 million in costs. I still deal with it every day. I have a medical device that I have to have refilled every 3 months. I just had another one replaced, and it was $245,000 to replace it. I'm grateful that I have it, and it gives me the opportunity to continue to work and not become disabled. I don't want to become disabled. I don't want to sit in this house and go stark raving crazy because I don't have anything to do. I want to continue working as long as I can, but I want to work and be happy at what I'm doing as well. That's another big thing that our age group faces, is still working but not really being happy at what we're doing. We're either done it too long, or things have changed so much in the industries that we're in that we're not really happy doing what we were doing anymore. But that's another subject. This is the medical problems and the medical bills associated with those problems. And it can be destructive. It can steal your life savings. It can steal your home. It can bankrupt you. And it is the number one worry with retired people, even ahead of their retirement savings, because medical conditions start to creep into your life at about 55, I would say. Mine's a little different because I had an injury and I've got complications because of that injury. My husband's complications in medical started right around that time, right around 68, 69. And he has a major medical injury that he is still recovering from. And it affects every day. Every day. It affects every day. It affects physiologically every day. Your ability to do what you did before that you can't do now. Physically, at 63 and at 66, we can't do what we did at even 53, even 10 years ago. The difference is really big. And I think the one thing for us that we weren't prepared for is we didn't think about that. I don't want to say we just assumed, but you don't think about it. You don't think from 55 to 65 that you're going to fall apart physically. But that's the age where onset of major medical conditions start to creep in. I'm not talking about things like cancer or anything. I'm talking about chronic medical conditions, okay? Diabetes, chronic pain, heart disease, all of these chronic illnesses that affect day-to-day functionality and day-to-day finances. When I go and I have it's an implant, when I go and have my implant refilled every 3 months, that bill is $4,700. Now that's not what I pay, but that's what it costs for the medicine and the doctor to physically conduct that refill, make sure it's working correctly, refill it. And so I have to have it. If I don't have it, I don't know that I can continue to work, because I would be in so much pain that I probably couldn't work. Chronic pain is the number one chronic ailment for people over 55. And it's a staggering number. 75% of all Americans have some sort of chronic pain at 55 and over. And when I mean chronic pain, I don't mean a headache or a backache or, hurting your ankle. I mean chronic, debilitating, daily pain where you have to take a daily painkiller, whether it be a prescription drug, whether it's Tylenol or Aleve or whatever. You cannot get through your day without some sort of medication to deal with your chronic pain. The complication of that is now there are more seniors today that have addictions to painkillers than ever before in our society. And that's a scary thing. I can tell you that's a scary thing. The reason I have an implant is because I refused in 2006 to continue to take oral pain medication, morphine, codeine, all of those class opioids that when you take them orally, they go through your entire nervous system. I opted in 2007 for an implant that actually delivers that same medication, but delivers it through my nerves, not through my oral nervous system. There's a big difference. So what do we do about this chronic, debilitating, everyday pain? And then as seniors, how do we get through these staggering medical bills? If you're still working, then, and you're on private health care, you're going to be in a better position than if you're not working and you're on Medicare. So for us, in our situation, we got to continue to work as long as we can. I am a business owner, so my job does not depend on somebody else to make that decision. That's my decision. I am the one that is in control of, am I going to continue to work and up to what stage? That's my choice. My husband works for a company, so that choice is not completely his. There are other factors obviously involved in that. I will say one thing that is very, very encouraging. Companies today are keeping senior employees longer because of their experience level, because of their work ethics, and because, frankly, they're not tied to their phone. They are not tied to their phone. The younger generations are literally phone attached to their hip, and a lot of companies are realizing that that is a very significant work interference. And so, thank goodness, older companies are still looking for those people that are over 45 to 50. So that's an encouraging sign, especially if you are in a situation where you have a chronic medical problem. You need that private insurance to continue, whether it be through you or through your spouse. It's a big concern. I mean, it's a really, really big concern. I mean, I look at my own situation, I think if my private health care stops, then then what? You know, I'm 63. I've got to hope and pray, unfortunately, that my husband and I, will have private health care until I am 65. That's what we have to hope happens. It's a scary, scary, chronic issue for seniors in the United States of America. And as seniors, we all need to be speaking about these issues, talking to our local, state, and national officials about it, because it is a chronic problem, and there are a lot of seniors that can't do because they don't have private health care. They're not old enough to get on Medicare, so they're in this 2.5 year swing where it could financially destroy them if there is a chronic medical problem. So I don't know what the solution is. I just know that we as a group need to be talking to the people, the lobbyists, the power organizations that deal with senior issues like AARP, for example. And we need to be talking to our local, state, and national officials about this very, very big problem. And it is a big problem. The numbers are staggering, really staggering. For me, I just know that I got to keep getting up every day, getting dressed every day, getting into my office every day, working every day, and continuing to move forward and look for other opportunities for my husband and I post-retirement. And there's a lot of us that are doing that. And that's great. I mean, I know my husband and I, we don't want to sit in this house and do nothing. We're also not real big travelers, so we want to go do a few things, but we like to be home. We like to be in our house. We like to be comfortable. We like to sleep in our bed. We like to be in our yard. So for us, we're not world travelers. We may go on a couple of trips a year when we can, but we're not really big world travelers. So we want to be at home. So we want to do something, and we're working on some things. So when we are both retired, we still can generate additional revenue without depending solely upon our pensions or our Social Security. Because, we don't have any guarantee Social Security is going to be around, right? I mean, we're hoping, but we can't just assume that it will be. And that's even a scarier thought for the younger generations. Even my children, are they going to have it? It's a really big question mark. So the younger generations have to seriously be putting as much money away as they can, be very careful with how they spend their money, because what my generation looked to when we were getting into the workforce is we know that we're going to have X through our job, but we also know we're going to have Y through our Social Security benefits. The younger generations should not be depending on that because there are no guarantees. We're taking steps right now, thank goodness, to alleviate that problem so it will be around for everybody. But it's, there's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concern, and there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of worry in the senior arena about medical problems, medical bills, continuing to work, not continuing to work, private insurance, not having private insurance, can't getting on Medicare yet because you're not old enough to get on it yet, can't get your Social Security benefits because you're not old enough to get on them yet. It's just a very, very odd, stressful thing to think about. So I hope that this will inspire you to get with your financial planner, really think about, where you are, what you're doing, how much longer do you need to work, what are you going to have? Because even a scarier number than that is more than 60% of the retired Americans today will not have enough money to make it to the end of their life. that's really disappointing. So even if you've planned all this time and you've gone ahead and retired, your money is probably going to run out. How did that happen? How did our government let us down like that? These are people who've worked hard, who've saved hard. But what has happened is our government has let our debt ceiling get so high that there's no guarantees of anything. This is why we're in this volatile political situation right now, because for decades and decades and decades, the debt's been going up and up and up, and you can't continue to spend more than you're making. If that happens, you bankrupt. And we all have to pray that that doesn't happen. Because then what's going to happen? Not only to the current seniors, but to the generations behind us. It's a heavy subject, I know, but it is a subject that we all need to be talking about. We all need to be thinking about it. If you're in this age group, join some groups. Talk to your financial planner. Talk to your friends. How are they coping? What are they doing? That's the best way to really talk through the stress and strain of this very complex, scary subject. If you are struggling with these medical conditions, chronic pain, I would encourage you, depending on what you are coping with, to join some support groups. They are really a great source of support, but they're also a great source of additional sources. People who are dealing with whatever it is you're dealing with, some of them may have found out something that could help them. And for you, that's important. So I personally think the best place for that is Facebook. I think that is the one thing that Facebook does fantastically, is there are so many groups on that page. I actually belong to 5 or 6 groups for other reasons, but in particular, 2 of the groups that I belong to are groups that are people that are actually suffering with the same thing I have. And I have learned so much. I hear all about the new treatments. I hear about all of the new things that are happening, the new support, the new diagnosis, the new treatments. So I would encourage you to get to Facebook, type in whatever it is that you're struggling with, and underneath that you should see several groups and join them. Communicate with people who are in the same situation you are, because that, again, is talking and listening and sharing information, and that's what we got to get back to. We have to get back to that in this country. Across the board, human beings need human beings. And helping each other is what we should all be doing, not trying to submarine each other. I hope that this podcast will be an example of subjects that we all need to talk about, that you share with your circle of influence, that we start talking about, come back to the middle, listen to each other, respect each other, and find solutions for all of the problems that we have in our societies and in our countries. We only get one chance at life. We need to be doing all we can to make our lives the best that they can be. Communicating with others is a big step in that. Thanks for joining me today here at Conversations at Kerrie's Korner. I hope you're having a splendid Saturday wherever you are. I'm in Texas. Thank goodness the heat wave is broken. We've had some rain yesterday and today, so it's not 110 degrees outside, thank the Lord. And we needed the rain. I do ask that you continue to pray for those people in Kerrville. We still have not found everyone. We may never find everyone. So I pray that you be with those that are missing. Pray for their souls. Pray for those families that have lost their loved ones. And also pray for all of the first responders. It is a traumatic, life-changing thing that they are going through, and they will see things that they will never be able to forget. So I ask that you keep the first responders and all those trying to find these lost individuals in your prayers too. God bless you, and we'll see you the next time. at Conversations at Kerrie's Korner. Oh, and I forgot one more thing to remind you of. Kerrie's Korner is offering a new service that we are in the process of launching. It is called Coffee at Kerrie's Korner. What it is, it's two parts to it. The first part is going to be a storefront where you can go and buy coffee and accessories, and at some point we'll be adding coffee machines and all sorts of things, all sorts of accessories. Right now it's mainly coffee, and these are all international coffee beans that you can ship, you order and ship, drop ship to you. You just go on the website. The website should launch, I'm hoping, by Tuesday. And you can go on and see all the different types of coffee that's available to you. There'll be several options. There'll be coffee for cappuccinos, regular cups of joe, lattes, you name it. And we will also have decaf availability for you as well. So look for that. I will be back and I will announce that once it's live. The second part of that is a mobile coffee service where we will actually be coming to you if you have a party or a business, or even at a local vegetable market or fair or whatever it may be. We are actually going to take our mobile coffee services there and make fresh, delicious, on-site coffee creations just for you. So please look for that. That'll start sometime in the fall, hopefully in October sometime, and I will also announce that when that's ready. So please join us at Coffee at Kerrie's Korner. We'll see you the next time, everyone. Make it a great day, and I hope the rest of your weekend, if you are on your weekend, fantastic. Whenever your weekend starts, I hope it is wonderful for you too. God bless.